Hi everyone, I'm Toga and today I have for you a 20-minute yin class. In this yin class we'll be focusing on our back and shoulders, and we'll also be focusing on our hips. So if you are ready, you'll need your mat, you will need 2 blocks, and you might want to have a blanket as well. In yin we'll be holding poses for a little bit longer, about 2 to 3 minutes. And we'll be doing this to sort of open up our joints and allow for some relaxation, some revitalization, and to get some nutrients back into these joints, specifically our shoulders and our hips. So if you're ready, we'll start with a brief centering, and then we'll make our way down onto the mat for our first pose. You can start in a comfortable seated position. You can close down your eyes if that feels okay, or softly gaze down the tip of your nose. You can either drop into your breath here, becoming aware of your inhales and your exhales, or you can bring some awareness to the points of your body that are in contact with the mat. If you'd like to set an intention for this practice, something you can come back to, I invite you to do that now. And whenever you're ready, on your next inhale, if your eyes are closed, you can flutter them back open, and we'll make our way down into the mat for our first pose, which is going to be a wide-legged child's pose. So a few different options here. We'll have our knees slightly apart, as much as feels comfortable for you, toes together, and then we'll come down into this child's pose. Now we're going to be holding this for about 2 minutes, so make sure you're somewhere where you're still feeling a stretch, but you're comfortable. So if you have those blocks, feel free to always use those blocks. You can place one block between your heels, offering a little bit of support. You can have a second block underneath your chest. You can use a block underneath your third eye or your forehead. Feel free to play around here. If you need a little bit more support under your knees as well, you can take that blanket, you can unfold it, and you can place that blanket on your mat for your knees. So feel free to settle in here, finding a version of this that works for you, that's going to allow you to get what we call a level 3 stretch here. So in yin yoga, we're looking for some sensation. We're not looking to feel nothing. We're not looking for total relaxation, but we are looking for some kind of stretch and some kind of sensation, but we're not looking for any discomfort, definitely not any pain. So at any point, if one of these poses doesn't feel right for you today, feel free to take a different version of this or something that feels better for you. Your forehead might be on your mat or perhaps a block. And if it feels good, you could always rock that forehead back and forth slightly as if you were giving yourself a little forehead massage. You can stay in stillness, but wherever you are, see if you can send a little bit of extra weight towards your hips, towards your heels, as if you were sinking deeper down into the mat, into this pose. Sending your exhales to any area where you might be feeling some stickiness or some sensation. And see if you can maybe think about sending your breath to the back of your body. Opening up your sides, your lower back, and your hips. When you're ready, you can take 1 or 2 more nice deep breaths in here, sending your exhales to your hips, to your heels. And then on your next inhale, you can slowly start to bring yourself back upright. And then we'll meet in a tabletop position with our knees stacked under our hips and our hands stacked under our shoulders. And then we'll just do a cat-cow here to flush that out. So on your inhale, you can arch your spine, gaze may lift. And then on your exhale, you can round your back, dropping your head. And then we'll meet back into that neutral position. And then we'll set up for our next pose, which is going to be an open wing. So if you have any props on the side, you might want to scooch them out of the way. If you have that blanket, you can scoot that out of the way too. I'll show you a couple different variations for this. If you're having any issues with your shoulder, please be careful and definitely come out of this if it doesn't feel right. So I will show you with the right arm extended first. So you will have that right arm extended. Your legs can be long on the mat, and you can press that right cheek on the mat. Your head would be facing the left, and you can stay right here. If this feels good, if this is all you want, if this is all you need, you can stay right here. Otherwise, you can place that left hand on the mat and then just slowly starting to roll yourself over towards the side. That left foot may come to rest behind the hip, behind the leg. That left hand can stay by your face or by your shoulder, acting as some support. Or if you want, you can always drape it over the small of your back. So a couple different options here. We'll hold that for 2 minutes on each side. If this is really not working for you today, you can always turn onto your back, and you would take that arm, and instead of rolling over onto your other side, you would just sort of slip it underneath the small of your back here, and you'll still get a little bit of a shoulder opening in a way that's less intense than the version where you're on your stomach. So take whatever version of this is working for you today. Wherever you are, find your breath here. Your left foot, if you are turning over, your left foot might not reach the ground. That's totally fine and normal. You can always be up on your toes, or if you want, you can take that block and you can place that block underneath your foot to give you a little bit of extra support or a little bit of extra height. Remember, we're looking to find our edge here. So that part of sensation where you're feeling something, there is something happening within your joints, but you're not at the point where there is any kind of numbness or pain or major discomfort. And if there is, you can just slowly come out of this and take one of those other variations that I showed earlier, either just staying with your chest on the mat and with your right cheek on the mat, or turning over onto your back and bending your arm so that your hand can slip under the small of your back. If you're in that rolled half over position, take one more breath in here. And on your exhale, if your foot is on the mat, you're going to slowly lift it and then start to turn yourself back so that your chest reaches down to the mat. You can lengthen your arms so that they're by your sides. Your forehead can press down against the mat, or if you'd like to leave that right cheek on the mat, you can do that too. Sometimes in yoga, we talk about pulling the shoulders back and away from the ears, but right now I want you to let those shoulders kind of round forward. And just let go for a moment here. And on your next inhale, we'll set up to do the same thing on the opposite side. So your two sides might be different. So if you want to take a different variation of this version on the other side, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll be extending our left arm this time. The left cheek will be down on the mat, and then the right hand can come kind of by your face or by your shoulder, whatever feels good. Now you might want to stay right here. This might be enough. This is still opening up that left shoulder a little bit here. You can also always turn over onto your back and take that different variation of open wing. Or if you like, you can start to press into that right arm this time, rolling over onto your side. If you want to just keep those legs stacked too, if that feels better, you're welcome to do that too. Otherwise, you can lift that right foot this time and place it on the floor behind you so that you're sort of turning towards the right side of the mat, opening up, while that left arm stays extended out in that half T shape. Again, that right hand can stay by you, can come to the small of your back. Anything that feels good here. Remember, you also have that block. So if your right foot doesn't come all the way down, you are welcome to place that block underneath your foot to help bring the earth a little closer to you. Find your breath here. Sending your exhales to any area where you might be experiencing some sensation, knowing that we are looking for that edge, but we are not looking for any pain or discomfort, especially in that left shoulder. So if you're feeling anything funky there, definitely gently come out of this and take one of those different variations instead. See where else here you can soften. You're having kind of an active movement here, especially in the shoulder and maybe even in the hip. But see if there's anywhere else in your body where you can release some tension and soften, maybe in your face, maybe on that left leg, that extended leg, maybe around your core, your toes even, your fingers. See where you can release and let go. And take a few more breaths in here. Maybe sending your exhales to the side of your body, to your left arm. And then if you're opened up to the side of the room, you can start to lift that right foot up again and then slowly and carefully turn back over onto your stomach. You can leave that right cheek down on the mat, or you can place your forehead on the mat, whatever feels better. And then let your arms and legs extend back. Again, we'll let those shoulders kind of roll forward this time. Releasing, being with any sensation that you might be feeling after that. And then when you're ready, you can bring your hands towards your shoulders and then pressing yourself up onto your knees as we set up for our next pose, which is going to be half frog. So just a few notes here. Half frog is going to involve one of our legs bent, coming a little bit closer, maybe towards our belly button or our hips. So a few options here. You can always have your blocks underneath your front. So this is what half frog is going to look like. And we're going to bring that knee up. So if that's a little too intense and you want to bring a little bit more of weight underneath your chest, you can use those blocks just like so. And then maybe make a little stack for your forehead with your hands. And then allowing that right knee to bend up, coming into that half frog shape. if you don't want those blocks, you can always move them out of the way. You can also use a blanket for support under this knee if you're on a hard surface or it doesn't feel so great. You can always take that folded blanket and place it underneath that right knee. Your hands, again, they can be stacked here, making that little pillow shape for your forehead, or if you'd prefer to have them in a T shape, that is also an option. Basically, whatever feels okay and comfortable on your back and especially on your neck. But what we're really looking for here is we're looking for that right knee to come up about as high as feels okay. You know, work within your range of motion here. Don't try to yank that knee all the way up towards like your shoulder if that's just not how your body is built. So your knee might be a little bit lower down, it might be a little bit farther up, but just find a version of this where you are feeling some sensation in that right hip, in that right knee, not the knee, we don't want any sensation in the knee, in that right leg. So that's what we're looking for here, is some kind of a stretch. We're just, again, definitely not looking for any pain or discomfort. So feel free to adjust as you need. You can always go back to your breath if you're feeling like you're reaching your edge or you're reaching that point where you're feeling, oh man, I'm not sure if I can hold this anymore. See if you can take a few nice steady breaths. And then if at the end of those breaths you're still feeling the intensity of that edge, you can slowly come out of this. We're only here for a few more seconds. Take one more nice deep inhale. And on your exhale, you can lower that right leg down to meet the left, extending both of your legs long. You can lift your feet up off the mat. And then we'll do some windshield wipers here. Just letting your feet drift off to one side and then the other. They definitely do not have to touch. We're just getting that little rocking movement going along here, allowing us to release that hold, releasing anything that you might still be holding on to. And then we'll set up to do the same thing on the opposite side. So you can extend those legs long. And then inhale, sweeping that left knee up this time. Again, it might be about equal to your hip or your belly button. It might be a little bit lower down, it might be a little bit higher up, but again, we are working with our body here, not against it. Your hands can be stacked underneath your forehead like a little pillow. If you prefer, you can always place your cheek on the mat and have your arms extended out to the side. Just taking whatever version of this is feeling good today, making sure that you're not feeling any numbness, any pain, especially not any pain in that left knee. But we are looking for some sensation, and we are looking to breathe into that sensation to allow ourselves to open up that left hip. And as usual, feel free to add or remove props as needed here. So if you want that blanket underneath that left knee, or if you want that blanket underneath that right hip, if you feel your iliac bones, the hip bones pressing into the mat or pressing into the floor and you want a little softness there, that blanket can be really useful in that way too. You can also use your blocks underneath your front. If blocks aren't working for you today, you are also welcome to use a bolster or you can roll up that blanket and make a little bit of a log. Or if you have multiple blankets, you can stack them. So lots of different options here for you to be able to get into this pose in a way that's going to be comfortable for you. Take a few more breaths in here. And on your next inhale, you can sweep that left leg down to meet the right, extending both of the legs long. And this time, you can extend those arms out into a T shape, and we'll do those windshield wipers one more time, floating the feet up towards the ceiling, and then letting them rock to one side of the mat, and then the other. Maybe doing one more on each side until you feel even and equal. And then all you need to do is place those feet back down, and then you can turn right on over onto your back, and we'll do a very short Shavasana here. Coming in to this corpse pose, hands maybe up towards the sky, toes off to the side. You can close down your eyes if that feels good. If you're holding on anywhere else, now is the time to let go. If you can stay a little bit longer in your Shavasana for another 5 or 10 minutes, I highly recommend that. But if you're coming out of this now, you can roll over to either side of the mat and gently lift yourself into an upright seated position. Cricket is here with us now to say thank you. And then we'll take one more breath together, inhaling our arms up, exhaling hands down to center, and bowing our head to seal in our practice. Thank you for practicing with me today. Be well.